Hi, I'm Kirsten Kapoor from Kirsten Kapoor Designs. I am working on a new shawl pattern that features these little clusters of stitches. It's a really pretty technique when you're using a variegated yarn like this Lorna's Laces shepherd sock that I'm working with. It brings all those different colors of our variegated yarns up in nice thick clusters to really show off the colors. To achieve this effect, I am picking up stitches from a row 4 rows below. I'm actually picking up a loop and pulling it through a hole 4 rows below. So the location of these where I'll be pulling loops through is between a pair of left and right cross stitches. That's just a little 1/1 cable. So this one leans to the right, this one leans to the left. Whenever you work 2 cables side by side like that, there'll be a little tiny gap in between because, as you can see, these stitches are sort of pulling apart. And that creates a nice little opening that makes it pretty easy to get through your fabric and pick up a stitch from behind. So I've reached the point in the pattern where it's time to pick one of those up. The way I do it is I'll go through the hole. Now there is that bar from the row that's just above this that you can see, I hope, on my finger, that bar of the deep plum. I want to make sure I get under that. I want to get that out of our way. So I've gone through from front to back. I'm going to wrap it with my working yarn and pull it up through. Now, I have to do 4 of these little stitches in a cluster, but if I were to just go and pick up again, you'll see that I don't have 2 loops. I have just this sort of messy little knot. So that's not going to work. In order to prevent that, we need to knit 1 stitch in between each of the stitches that we pick up. So I'll knit the next stitch. Now I'm going to go through and pick up my second stitch, making sure I stay underneath that little bar from the row above. So there's 2 of them. And I want to, if they feel like they're too tight, I just kind of tug a little bit. I want to have a nice little, I don't want them to pull too tightly here. I want to be able to see the stitches. So I think these are maybe, I don't know, 3/8 of an inch long or something. Knit the next stitch. Go into the hole from front to back. Wrap it, pull it through. Knit the next stitch. I think that was 3, yes. Go through the hole from front to back. These are all going through the same hole. And knit the next stitch. And now I've got my little cluster of 4. So there are 4 of these loops that I've pulled through and 4 knit stitches that are paired with them. This has given us extra stitches on our needles, and in the next row we will knit those together so we don't end up with too many stitches. Now I'm going to knit 4 to get to the next cluster. Okay, we're at the point where we do it again. So I go in between these 2 left and right cross stitches, making sure I go under that bar that's from the row just above it. Wrap it, pull the loop through. There's 1. Knit the next stitch, go through from front to back, wrap it, pull it through, knit the next stitch, go through, wrap, pull it through, knit the next stitch, and 1 more. Through, wrap, pull it through, and knit the next stitch. Knit 4 to get to the next cluster. So now my little cluster at the end of the row is actually half a cluster. So in these we've had clusters of 4 stitches pulled through. In this case we're only going to pull 2 stitches through. And you can see in that row 4 rows below I've only done 1 right cross. There's no left cross paired with it. So I'm just going to go into the stitch just to the left of that right cross. So I'm going to go into that hole, wrap, pull it through, knit the next stitch, and we do it twice here at the end of the row. So wrap, pull it through, there's my second one, knit the next stitch, and then knit the 2 stitches at the end. Okay, now it's time to flip it over, and I'll show you what we do when we get to those stitches on the wrong side. All right, so I knit these first 2. Now I've reached the stitch that I pulled up, and if you flip your work over, you can see that stitch that you pulled up, plus its knit stitch that's next to it. What we want to do is we want to knit that stitch together with its knit stitch. And here's the next one. You can see the stitch I pulled through and its knit stitch side by side. I'll knit those together. And remember, there were 4 stitches between our clusters. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so it's time to do it again. There's that stitch that we pulled through and its knit stitch, so those 2 get knit together. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Knit to the next cluster. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we'll do it one more time. And I like to check. When I get to the clusters, I always give it a double check. Make sure that I'm in the right position. I can just flip my work over and have a peek. And there is that loop from the row below, and there's my knit stitch, so I know I'm in the right spot. Knit them together. And again. And one more time. And again. Knit 4. Okay, let's turn it over and have a look. So now you can see my clusters of stitches that I've made. They're secured now by being knit together with the stitch that we knit alongside them in the next row. And we're down to the correct number of stitches that we had when we began the previous row. So that's how it's done. I hope you'll give it a try. It's not a particularly difficult technique, but it really gives a very pretty effect, especially if you like using variegated or speckled yarns. It's definitely worth a try. Have a great day.